Hello and welcome back to Garen Riververse's Of the Devil. After the little snafu last time where I lost the audio, I am continuing and yay, I will be very, very careful this time. So, we have made it to Noble HQ, which is, to me, quite reminiscent of... I cannot remember the name of the company in iRobot, but it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that... like lobby. I had to click to get the mouse back on the screen, but Morgan said I'd been here before, so let's continue from there. Sat right here in this lobby, waiting for David to come and treat me to lunch. At least, I think it was this lobby. Could have been some other floor, could have been an entirely different building. All these corporate towers of Babel feel like interchangeable fractals to me. That is a beautiful shot. Folding in on themselves in patterns of narcissistic paranoia. So monumental in the scale of their hubris that they needed to use non-Euclidean geometry when drawing up the blueprints. The greatest minds of each generation coming together just to find the most expensive way to shove their heads up their asses. Adone, is something bothering you? Just doing the maths on how long we'll be kept waiting here. Apparently, someone will be here shortly. So maybe if I pass the time by glaring around the place, it'll improve my mood. Ooh. They changed the logo again. Noble Electronics. How's it feel stepping in here? Is this some kind of religious experience for you? It's just the corporation where my father worked. Careful now, or they'll burn you for heresy against the company. You said it again. The company. As if it's a proper noun. You're mimicking the employees, aren't you? So it can't obey simple orders, but it can pick up on that. She still doesn't... She's not there yet. I reckon, she's cracked the veneer of seeing Serra as a person after basically comforting her about not being able to see the difference with David. Is that just part of the corporate culture? Noble's one of the biggest companies there is, one of the biggest there's ever been. We mere humans can't hope to escape the gravity of anything that size, no matter where you live or how far off the grid you think you are. So imagine what it's like working for them. Well, you live in company dorms, work in company quarters. Wherever you go, that logo's above your head. You eat, sleep and breathe on Noble's timetable at its discretion. When you spend your whole life inside of it, Noble must feel big enough to be the only company there is. Serra didn't really have much to say about that. To think this is only one room. This complex is so massive that it doesn't even feel man-made. It feels like it was carved out of the rock by waves, like it's always been here. That's the con. If this place was actually natural, there'd be birds everywhere. I hadn't considered that. Why aren't there birds in here? Probably because of what they do to the ones that get in. I'm kidding. Though I don't have a better explanation. Because they would leave their bird droppings everywhere. And corporate types don't have time for that. Watch. Guessing that's the last jobby. So much energy. So many people, all so intent. You kidding? It's Saturday, the place is half empty. But doesn't everyone work on Saturdays? Well, the parents do, so they don't need to find childcare on Sunday. Everyone else flips the coin, I guess. All these people, for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. What could they all possibly be doing? Making work for themselves. You can be very cynical, can't you? Yeah, I'm terrible. But that guy over there's been jiggling his cursor for the last 20 seconds. What, me? No, I've been reading text. Morgan, thank you. It's my job, actually. Whoever comes to greet us better have a pulse and some goddamn authority. My mood's starting to sour, and if they send me the first link in their infinite chain of corporate bureaucracy, I'll make them wish. Morgan? Also, a quick thing, that because Serra has been relatively sheltered, she is calling out all these things, and it's subtle storytelling. It's like both a window into the world and a window into how the world is perceived. Because it's not just, oh yeah, people work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's her pointing that out and Morgan being like, well, yeah. And that's the clever storytelling part. That's me. Hey there. Android Manufacturing Quality Control Eastern Division. Evan Dawes. Evan Dawes, he says, like it's an afterthought. What's a name compared to your place in the hierarchy? You seem familiar. Have you... I'm David's lawyer. Oh, then we must have... Apologies. Let me first say how sorry I am about his passing. You and everyone else at the company must be going through a lot right now. As if it's a proper noun. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. You're welcome, but it is no big deal. Everyone's on the razor today, but what else is new? And compared to PR or legal right now, our workloads in QA, never mind. How can I assist you? Shortly before his passing, Dr. Asher began the process of registering this android. Yes, that is correct. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the job. Look at that. It's definitely custom. Gee, you think? Good thing I sought out an expert. Warm, it goes without saying. Reminds me of the A16 Premier, if anything. Barcode is clearly printed, no visible defects. But you're right, it doesn't correspond to anything we have on file. Well, they sent you to the right man for the job, and now we just need to go to the right place. Not far, I hope. It's in the building. Is that cybernetics he's got, or are those bandages? In the building, that can mean anything from down the hall to half a day's hike. The production line on B9 should have everything we need. You do manufacturing inside your corporate headquarters? B9's a fully functional production floor, but it was only built for demonstrative purposes. New clients make deals upstairs about how many and in what shape or size, then they come down to the basement to see how the sausage is made. They have enough money to build a fake factory just for guests. Smart, so long as you're only giving tours and not giving away company secrets. No need to worry about that, we take intellectual security very seriously around here. No kidding, there are 11 cameras on us in the moment that I can see. And who knows how many pairs of modded eyes are aimed our way. Clearly nothing here happens without the almighty company knowing about it. So if they try to claim ignorance about anything, it's gonna piss me off. Lead the way. 3:08 PM, so I've got, what, 3 hours? Or 3.5, I think it was 6:30 that the court date was. Noble Electronics Northeastern HQ, basement, floor 9. Really is fully furnished down here. Beautiful aesthetics. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's pretty rare to get to see all this in person, you know? Would you mind terribly if I looked around for a moment? No problem. We have some prelim paperwork I need to handle anyway, so have at it. Better take full advantage. I'll need more than cursory knowledge if I want to figure out where Serra came from and why David wanted me to take custody of his child. Come on, you're smart. But I suppose it's that... Yeah, different kind of smart. I mean, she's smart with people, but this is, again, a different kind of smart. I'm going to look around. You stay put in the meantime. Adane? Wouldn't want to lose you among the rest of the merchandise. Aww. Rude. So watching... magic doorway. Scanner, I imagine. Another window, another thing. Alright. What's being built out there? Our top of the line, brand new bestsellers, the Animate 16 Warm. Looks kind of cold out there. We keep the factory floor refrigerated. Slows the organics already tuned metabolic activity to a minimum. That explains why the room doesn't smell like rotting flesh. The flesh out there is only somewhat rotting. Slowly. I just meant I'm surprised to see metal. Oh, well, all the A16s have alloy endoskeletons. The organics are laid on later on in the process. Sounds like what Serra told me about herself. Maybe she really was the A16's prototype. But it's hard to imagine bridging the gap between her and these scattered doll parts. Look at her little face. I get that you can grow just about anything from lax Gemini, but how'd you get the synthetic and the organic to work together? Yeah, that was our first concern when R&D began work on the warm concept. The 1.0s were real skin with synthetic muscle, and it was a horror show. Metal pulling on skin was just... right. For 2.0, they work backwards. Organic muscles, organic skin, but digital signals on organic hardware was a dead end. Didn't the muscles flex when you passed an electric circuit through them? They'd flex and unflex, sure, but that's not nearly precise enough for facial expressions. They look like puppets strung up on live wires. We used the test footage to haze interns, actually. You must have figured something out. The A16 wouldn't look out of place on the runway. Thank you. We try. We ended up reaching out to mod companies. Well, we actually just bought out a half dozen of them, but... right. They figured out how to get human nervous systems moving mechanical limbs decades ago. So we just needed to get a mechanical nervous system to move living limbs. Very clumsy attempt to avoid using the word human. High precision mods are slotted straight into the nervous system. They receive their input from neurotransmitters, not bioelectricity. So you had to do the opposite. Exactly, we created a synthetic neurotransmitter that our androids could use to communicate with organic flesh. Where did that breakthrough come from, Dr. Asher? Partly, he led the team to build the motor neurons in this analogy. They carry commands from the central nervous OS to individual muscles across the chassis. But the serotonin... sorry, the synthetic analog serotonin. That was actually an old brainchild from the VP of Android Futures, Helen Young. Young? Hasn't David mentioned a Dr. Young before? Sounds impressive. She's one hell of a biochemist. Well, she was, I guess. Not much time for individual lab work when you get her kind of pay grade. So Young collaborated with David on the technology that enabled warm androids. As I thought, whatever went into Serra that makes the android so distinct, he couldn't have taken sole credit for it. Young, did he partner with her on this? Question would be why. Like, I reckon that he did do it on his own. He had, like, but then again, he had a 3D printer, but that wouldn't be enough. I don't know. I just can't imagine him being able to sneak this. You know, like this... yeah, there's too much observation. He wouldn't be able to get her out of the building. And I don't think they knew about her. I don't think she was the reason Noble killed him, because she was still there. So they didn't set up any contingencies to take control of her, and if they knew she existed, again, Morgan wouldn't be able to walk her out of the building and into Noble. All it would take is, like, one person to be like, actually, that is Noble property, so we're gonna have to take her off you, and boom, what can Morgan do? Inspector thing here? An inhaler left out on the desk, probably a half dozen empty ones in one of the drawers. Doors? The inhalers, they're distributed by the company, correct? Oh, yeah, HR handles it. They personalize your dosage and prescription and update it based on performance and job fulfillment reviews. Other corporations do it the same way? Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's trying to keep pace with each other, so can't have your employees losing focus on the job. Could cost you who knows how much in lost efficiency. Sorry if this is insensitive, but given what happened to David, are overdoses common in the company? Yeah. Yeah, he says. Overdoses, that is, not hospitalizations or deaths. It's all pretty organised these days. These days? Man, back when I started in consulting, pretty much everyone had an embarrassing story from their first 2 years where they popped a few too many greens and missed the on-ramp. Popped greens? Yeah, it used to be pills. Green to get you going, yellow to keep you there, swallow a red after brushing your teeth and get you into your bunk fast. But yeah, the inhalers are a huge improvement, like going from torches to the light bulb. They sync straight to your personal biomes and adjust dosage in real time. Overdoses are way down. That's great to hear. The trainees under me don't realise how good they got it. Kids probably don't even have to learn how to purge. Tell me about purging. Ah. You know, yeah, that is exactly what I expected that to be. I don't know why I needed to check. Doors. Chief Supervisor, hammocks, calligraphy, and pale ale, dislikes first dates. How does she get this information? It's like, good to meet you. Tell me your likes and dislikes. And he goes, pale ale, and I don't like first dates. Okay, now. Bit of an odd thing to mention. Starting to grey. Wow, he does not look old. I would have guessed that he was in his, like, early 20s from the way he looks. Yeah, I know, right? It seems to share some components with that coffin Serra was napping in. If Dawes does quality assurance, is it some kind of android calibration device? That's probably what he'll use to register Serra. Looks a little... Is Serra tall enough for it to recognise her? No, she's tiny. I mean, she is shorter than Morgan. I think. There's something out there that caught my eye when we came in. A very familiar shade of crimson. If I squint through the glass out on the floor, there are temperature-controlled fluid tanks. Oh, the plasma. Through glass and plastic flows an eye-catching scarlet that transitions into... So you add the blood towards the end? You mean the oxidant? Yeah, relatively late in the process. Something out of place? Androids have blood, even if it's not officially labelled as such, but it isn't red, it's pink. Something milky, sometimes neon, occasionally garish, but pink. I just didn't think the oxidant would be red. Oh, right, sorry, I barely noticed it at this point. The colour's natural, comes from the biomanufacturing process. The chromofuge out there removes the byproducts, the waste, the excess pigment, changing it from blood red to psychopop pink. Without that chromofuge, Android's flesh would come out looking all the wrong colours. That may be true. Probably isn't, but it may be. I do have a simpler explanation. Is it going to be that bleeding red androids is a really bad look? I would put money on that being the case. Blood is primal, the sight of it carries weight. They change the colour of the product's blood so that when an android gets a bottle broken across his face, no one bats an eye. Yeah, it makes sense. It really does. I mean, that's exactly why you get, like, in movies and TV shows, like, aliens and stuff bleeding non-red colours, because bleeding red on TV and movies is, like, a big flag, whereas bleeding other colours is nowhere near as triggering. Feels like I've seen this before. Okay, right, we're going to get an answer about the 3D printer. That's right, there was one in David's lab. That's the nanograde elementary manufacturer, nanofacturer for short. Really high quality piece of machinery, each of them built in-house by Randock Mechanics. What does it do? Nano-level flash fab. I'm assuming that's instant fabrication. Microscopic manufacturing microscopic compounds that utilize parallel nesting billions of simple structures in minutes or seconds. Nanomachines have been around for the better part of a century. Concerns about the ecological impact of this, and their response is nothing that small can leave a big footprint. Great. Wait, what was that other thing? Evidence. Chromafuge. Is evidence? Interesting. Interesting. Why is that evidence? Interesting. Is it possible he was poisoned using the plasma? I mean, that would tie into the other stuff I was saying, that the plasma has negative side effects. So what if the plasma mixing with alcohol? No, because it was a powder. It must have been a powder to be in the salt. Like, I think it would be fascinating, and it would tie into other theories I've had, that the plasma is lethal if combined with, for example, alcohol. Because, like, I made a mistake, I think, in the last one, where, because I was saying, like, oh yes, they sent David down to get the whiskey from the basement so that they could switch the salt. No, they didn't. That's definitely not what happened, because the only time they entered the kitchen was when they called emergency services. And we know this because that's the only time the camera picked them up. It was a snapshot when they were calling emergency services. It didn't say the camera was attached to the call button. It just said that's when someone entered the kitchen. So what I reckon is they went and called it and then disposed of the salt, and that's why they didn't have time to put the lid back on, because they arrived pretty bloody quick. So David might even have witnessed them disposing of the salt, but of course he died. So there must have been some other reason why they sent him down to the basement if it wasn't to do something with the salt. It could be something to do with the temperature, because they made a point of saying that they had alcohol upstairs, but it was in the fridge. It was cold. But they sent or requested David go get some whiskey from downstairs, which would be room temperature. So it's possible that ties into the triggering, the catalyzing of the poison. Nano-level flash fab. Basically a 3D printer for nanomachines. You build nanomachines in your factories for use in your androids? The raw materials are cheap, literally elementary, so no sense in getting them shipped in. It's mostly the medical models that make use of them. Inject a couple thousand nanites into a patient's bloodstream, run diagnostics, and provide a solution. A 3D printer for nanomachines. So what kind of ink does it use? Silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, building blocks. They feed into the nanoprinter and it assembles the machines particle by particle. Like a ribosome building structurally complex proteins out of chemically simple nucleic acids. Must be time consuming. You would think, but Randok cracked the code on parallel microfacturing. The inside's crystalline, sprawling like an ant's nest. Raw materials enter one of the thousands of different entry points, combining and recombining at intersections. The finished product ends at the center and drips out in liquid solution. Distilled nectar swimming with millions of nanites in just 2 minutes. Oh, interesting. That is suddenly relevant, because this is presenting an alternate murder tool. If it's printed in 2 minutes and David passed his printer to go and get the alcohol, the whiskey, it's creating what I don't know if this game does red herrings. It's presenting the option that he went down there, got nanites, printed the nanites, which, you know, I can't mention nanites without making another iRobots reference, but printed the nanites and put them in his drink, because there was the possibility that it was in his and not the bottle or the other cup. The fact that it's in liquid form, I don't know. Maybe it's just world building. Nectar, it's sticky? It can be, depending on the desired output, but the door vacuum seals while it's cooking, so don't worry. It's completely spill-proof. What a relief. Not exactly a box of paper clips David could just have brought home from the office one day. He must have bought his own for some reason. Evidence? Yes, evidence. A machine capable of... What? Again, why is chromafuge in bloody evidence? I do not understand that. Where's the evidence just gone? It's gone. There it is. Capable of assembling organic or inorganic compounds and even nanomachines after just 2 minutes. The 2 minutes has got to be relevant. He was down there for 4 minutes or something. That is time. That is more than enough time for him to have printed nanomachines. But why? Fascinating. Ooh, what did I just see? A box with an article. What have we got on this datapad? Some kind of write-up? On the subject of Sullivan's Peak. Much of our world today, and in fact much of the world's economy, is heavily influenced by the uncanny valley. The thought experiment provides a simple and easily applied explanation for the gaps we see in an otherwise wide spectrum of automated dependence that assist us in nearly every industry on the planet. Come back. God, this thing's hard to control. We like things that resemble the living, like cartoons and puppets and toys. But there are deep, deep trenches between these two ends. I don't know, this might just be explaining a concept that not everyone who plays the game would necessarily be familiar with. Obviously, the Uncanny Valley is quite a famous concept. I propose we bridge the Uncanny Valley looking at the speculative fiction of Robert J. Sullivan, who in his well-known work Equal Under One Sky described a concept which thereafter has been called Sullivan's Peak. Is that a real thing? From what I can tell, he is not a real person. That is one of these, like, in-universe ones. But there are at least 3 authors called Robert Sullivan, one of whom does murder mysteries, which I assume they're murder mysteries. That's what the book titles look like. But, yeah, that's funny. Through the lens of his characters and their so very divided world, Sullivan demonstrated that the Uncanny Valley has its own peak on the other side. A point past which an artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make the experience more uncomfortable. I see? So, I've actually been rewatching Westworld because I still rank the first season of Westworld as one of the best TV shows ever, and I'm struggling to watch season 2 because it is much, much worse. But I'm also playing Cyberpunk. This game has really influenced me. It's got me so back into these things that it's about. I need to rewatch iRobot. But anyway, this is fascinating as a concept, that a point past which the artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make them more uncomfortable. And that's a concept that is like roughly touched on in Westworld. I'm not going to go too deep into it because the less you know about Westworld when you watch it, the better. But yeah, that like touches on how some people want to make the hosts, they're called in Westworld, less lifelike. Although that was for various reasons. It wasn't really about that, but still. But maybe this is here because it's saying that Serra is, I don't know, beyond Sullivan's Peak even, or Serra is Sullivan's Peak? I don't know. This is an interesting concept. It could just be here for world building. I'm trying to see how Serra fits into the wider world, what her purpose is, why she was created, as she was asking. Surprised to find reading material like that around here. Were they passing it around as a gag, or were they actually afraid of Sullivan's Peak around here? Noble must be wary of it, or dismissive of it. Wary, I would say. If the peak does exist, they'll be coming up on it fast now that androids are warm. Noble's entire product line, maybe their entire industry, could go bottoms up if people start to think it's cruel. If Serra's any indication of where their androids are headed, I could see some people getting uncomfortable. All done? You ready to get the ad handled? Thanks for humouring me.